Hey guys, thanks for tuning in and welcome to the channel. Finally got the Skydio 2 in. This is the Skydio 2 drone from Skydio themselves. I haven't reviewed the first one. I figured I would go ahead and drop the coin on the second iteration, the second generation, because it looked pretty good as far as what Skydio had been working on. They finally got a 3-axis gimbal on here. It actually looks like it's going to give us some possibly pretty good footage. In this multi-part series review, we're going to do all of it. We're going to do an unboxing, inspection, setup, really get in depth in this one here, this first video. Then we're also going to do our series of flight testing, range testing, all that kind of stuff, and also see what kind of cinematic footage we can get in really strange conditions in this one. I'm going to try to maybe follow my truck when we're kind of 4x4ing in the forest, see how it kind of copes with the environment and the trees and stuff. I will have the rest of the series pop up here in the link for that playlist, and also it'll be down in the description down below, as well as where you can pick the Skydio 2 up if you're interested in purchasing it. Anyway, let's get started with the Skydio 2 unboxing and review. Okay, so first thing out of the box was just a letter of thank you from Skydio. They're basically telling you how much they appreciate it and how much hard work they put into this thing. Now guys, I did purchase all this stuff myself. I was in the first series of shipments. So this is the first shipment and it's already February, and that's when I got this. So I did not get this for free. I dropped the full amount of money on this like any other customer would for my review. I'm not sure why they didn't get back to me, but I did ask them if I could get a review unit as early as some of the other people were. And who knows why? Maybe it's because my reviews are brutally honest. Anyway, that aside, who knows? That's just speculation. So I went ahead and got all the stuff. I got an extra battery. It does come with one. I got the beacon here. This is the GPS module where you can fly it with just this if you wanted to. And it actually has a GPS tracking inside of it. So if it does lose visual reference of you, it'll use the GPS to kind of hone in on you, hopefully, and retrack you. And then I also got the regular controller. Now you can fly this thing with just your phone or just this thing, but you can also, if you wanted more of the traditional type of control, you can pick up this little controller here. It's basically the Parrot Anafi identical controller, rebranded. And that's also what I got. So we're going to test it through everything I have here, all the different ways you can control it and see how it does. So those are the extra peripherals I got. And then right here is the actual Skydio 2. Very hard shell on the outside. Then you've got this shoulder strap here. Nice little touch with the little blue accents on the zippers. Let's unzip this thing and see what it's all about. There is a little handle there. Kind of neat little spring-loaded little handle there on the side if you did want to take off your shoulder strap. But anyway, let's unzip it and see what we got. Opening the top, this is the first time I've ever seen the Skydio 2, and check that bad boy out. Wow. So this is it, guys. And so we've got our battery here. Looks like we've got a very extremely thick USB cable here. The Skydio drone is right in the center, of course. It's got propellers already mounted on it. We can see those cameras here on all of the edges. We'll take that out in just a second and explore. And then we have, looks like our power pack over here on the left. But that thing does look pretty darn awesome in there. That is just a crazy amount of technology in there. Tracking and obstacle avoidance I've seen this thing do so far. But of course we're going to put it to our own test. We have the rear propellers and motors are mounted on the top, and then we have the front ones are mounted on the bottom. So kind of interesting, huh? And then there is our cameras. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cameras in total on the Skydio 2 to give us all that obstacle avoidance. So pretty awesome. Whenever possible, keep this thing in there and let's see how this comes out. Looks like we just basically pull it down and it kind of, you see how that notches in the back and then pushes up inside of the camera. Once we take that out, we have our fully adjustable 3-axis gimbal camera. So here's as far as it goes. This looks like it's a little limited on its yaw side to side. You can see that there. That's the maximum side to side. Up and down. So this is an interesting type of gimbal. It's like a halved gimbal. So there is the up and down. Wow, this thing will twist all the way back like that, going up, and all the way back like that, going down. You can see how far that is. And then as far as our rolling goes, again, very, very far. It can go all the way about that far that way, and about the same the other way. Motor housing inside back there, and that's gonna basically, all that does is control the roll, and everything else on this portion of the gimbal controls the yaw and the tilt. But as you can see, if I push it around, it's basically on suspension in there. I can feel it kind of maxing out and knocking. So that's the movement you're gonna get in dampening. Micro USB Type-C connector. This is the very top of the unit, and if it starts to sprinkle, what's gonna happen? The water's gonna get right in there, isn't it? From the top. So a little bit worried about that. Would have been nice if maybe they could have put it maybe down here somewhere on the side, bottom, just so if it did start to sprinkle on it, you could kind of bring it home before any water got in there. So I think that might be not a very good spot for it, right up top like that. Also, it does have venting right there on top too. You can see that's probably the exhaust venting. There is some mesh there where the heat's going to dissipate out that way, possibly susceptible to some moisture trickling in there. Micro SD card, you slide it right in there in that notch. It doesn't come with one, so you need to get one. This can do the 4K 60. I really do like these Extreme Pro cards. They do work very well, so I'm going to be using this. So let's go ahead and install that first. Kind of match up the way the graphic shows with the notch on the left. And this one is a kind of a slide and click, so you just kind of push it down with our fingernail and it clicks in there, and we should be ready to go. And over here, just a little bit of information. It tells you what your Wi-Fi name is and the password. You're going to need to connect that to your phone. And this is also using a LiPo 11.4 volts, so a higher voltage 3S LiPo connection port pins right there for the battery. The motors are totally blank, nothing to see here. Interesting propellers. And there is quite a bit of bite on these propellers. Just look at that. That is some bite on there. And they are collapsible, so if you hit something or for storage purposes, nicely collapsed down. The only guide in the box is this quick little getting started guide for the Skydio 2, and you have to go to skydio.com/get started for the full manual. So I would have liked to see maybe how to take off and on the propellers, but all it tells you is how to push in the SD card, how to pop in the battery, how to charge it. You got to charge it while the battery's in the drone. That's really it. And then you have to download the app Skydio 2 from the App Store, Android or Apple. Looks to me like we're just going to need to push this thing down and in. Yeah, there we go. And then rotate it. You see how that is? So they're just very simple. And the whole assembly just is a push, down, twist, and lock type of system. So very, very simple. As far as lighting goes on the drone, on the rear we have this one LED light here. Flip it around to the front. And there are two on either side of the camera. And that's about it for the LED lighting. Let's go ahead and pop in this battery, see how this battery goes in. While we're pulling out our battery, let's check what else is in here. So here's that charging cable. It's just basically a USB-C to a USB-C on either end. Extremely thick because this is power is going through this, I guess, and also data, I would presume. There's a little cleaning cloth for your lenses. Just 2 extra propellers. Would have been nice to have a full set, but they're only giving us 2 extra propellers here. And this is basically it. This is what we're plugging into our wall to charge this thing up. That's actually a hefty little brick for a little USB charger, man. So there is going to be some current going through here. And then, of course, you just plug one end of the micro USB-C right into there, this into the wall, and then the other end is going into the top of that Skydio drone like I showed you with the battery mounted. And this is the last thing in this little case. So there's our battery. Let's go ahead and remove this skull guy here. That's interesting. You see the receiving pins here, and this is the 3S 4280 milliamp hour 11.4 volt 3S battery. So take the drone like this, flip it over upside down, and make sure you have the connectors lined up, and then just pop it like that. Yeah, so that just pulled together magnetically, and boy, that does not want to come off. I got to pull really hard and kind of squeeze my fingers together to separate that. So Looks like they did a good job. The only thing I can see is with a crash or, you know, hitting like a branch a little too hard, this battery might fly out. So it is a quite tight magnetic connection, but I still can see that breaking loose somehow. Who knows? But it does seem to be working pretty good. This is just basically a QR code and also your Wi-Fi information. So make sure you take that off before you fly. So that thing's ready to go to charge. I'm going to stick this thing on the charger while we're talking about the other peripherals over there, the extra stuff I got. So let's open this up and there it is. So just the same exact battery. One of the cons I'm seeing right off the bat is it sure would have been nice if these batteries had that micro USB Type-C connector directly on them, because you have to plug them into the craft to charge. Maybe something they could fix in the future, maybe the next generation, or when that multi-charger comes out, that'll kind of fix the issue. But there's a little button there, and you can see that this one is only 1/3 charge, so I'm going to need to charge this one as well. Okay, next item is going to be the beacon. So you don't actually have to fly with your phone. You can just fly with this thing, or hopefully with both of them in any type of situation. We're going to check how all that works. Just pop and open the top, and there it is. So little getting started beacon manual here. Turn on the beacon, power on the Skydio 2, pair the beacon with Skydio 2. You have to plug it in directly to the Skydio 2. That's interesting. And there's all of our controls on it. Interesting. So here it is. Let's take it out of the box here, get a better look at it. There we go. So a little screen protector. We'll take that off right away. Hover land and power off is the red. Using the magic wand, hold it for 3 seconds. That's basically turning it on, that little Skydio insignia. And then this changes the camera angle. So it's going to spin around. It looks to me like this is going to have to be used just to film yourself. So it's going to be kind of like a selfie little wand. I'm not sure if you can put this on something else and be somewhere else and then kind of track this, because this has the GPS in it, remember? A little charging in sync, USB Type-C, and it's just got a little vent speaker on the bottom. Little reset switch, it looks like, in there. Wi-Fi name and the password there as well. We'll go a little bit more into that when we're either powering it up for the first time here on the table or doing our beacon flight test. Now let's unbox the controller. Look at that thing, guys. Does that look familiar? Basically, just like the Anafi controller, they must have had some collaboration with Parrot, or whoever manufactures this controller with Parrot, and just slap their Skydio branding on it. All there is in this box is a little bag, lightning plug for Apple, and also a USB Type-C. Let's see if that's all we got in here. Yep, that's it. Some zooming, USB Type-C on the very top, and then we have our gimbal up and down, pictures and video recording, our joysticks, very simple, nothing super special here. And to turn it on, that's how we turn it on, is we just open it up. See the little light there on the bottom left going? And then that's our little spring-loaded for our phone mount. There's already some custom mounts you can use to mount tablets. So if you wanted to mount a tablet, you can get those custom mounts. I already have a couple for the Anafi, so they should work for this. Otherwise, you're only going to be limited to like a larger phone size. That's the maximum that extends. The antenna is up here, so make sure you're pointing that at the drone. Return to home, and that is our takeoff and landing button there. Figure I may as well just quickly show you guys the controller manual while we're here. You do have to sync it again through the Skydio, so you're going to plug this directly into the Skydio drone, synced up to the Skydio, and then put your phone in there, connect to your phone. If you only have that one cable these guys give you, that's going to take a while to charge all this stuff. So while you're first charging up the Skydio, which I am right now, I'd recommend definitely just throwing these on some of those extra cables if you have them. If you don't, you're going to have to buy a couple of them if you want to charge everything separately at the same time. It took about 1 hour to charge this thing fully. Basically, it's in quarters, 25 to 100%. When you do unplug that power cable from the Skydio, and this is on the bottom, the battery's installed, it doesn't shut off. The fan is still going. It's like the drone is kind of like halfway on, and it doesn't seem to turn off. So that was kind of interesting. I had to just pull the battery out. So it's kind of like they're using the Skydio as kind of like this fan-powered charger. So when I ordered it, some of this stuff wasn't available, but you can now get this dual charger you see there, where you can charge 2 batteries on this multi-charger separately. So Definitely get one of those if you can afford it. Beacon, the controller, and the Skydio with one extra battery cost me a total of $1,400. But you do have the ability to get these things now. They do have extra Cinema Series ND filters now. So I might actually go ahead and spend the $200 and upgrade to this Pro case so I can fit everything in it. Because as you can see, the regular case here doesn't have any spots really for the beacon, the controller, or any of that stuff. Basically, you can just have two batteries and the Skydio 2. Anyway, with that said, guys, let's go ahead and boot up the Skydio 2, get this thing up and on the phone first, and then we'll go ahead and bind it to the beacon, the controller, and just see what the interface looks like. I'm using Android. This is the OnePlus 6T phone here. I will have all the products I'm using in the description down below. I did download the Skydio 2 app from Android. You can also download it from Apple as well. But we're using the Android version, so I'm just going to go ahead and boot it up and let's see what it tells us to do. All right, so a picture of the Skydio 2. Let's get started. Terms of use. Of course, we're going to just scroll down. You can read all that if you want to. I'm going to submit. Skydio needs some permissions to fly, so it's using your location and your microphone. So I'm just going to go ahead and enable, allow, both of those. And now you have to activate your Skydio 2. So I'm going to enter my email address. We want to go into the Wi-Fi settings. And I guess now we want to power this thing on. So I'm just holding it for about 3 seconds. You see those front lights come on. And then just set it down on a very steady surface and make sure it's not going to move anywhere for the initial boot up. So as you can see, it's flashing, powering up. We should see the gimbal move a little bit, and that means it's ready to go after it stops blinking. There we go, stop blinking, and the gimbal is centered. So it doesn't really make any sounds, and so, but once you see those lights are on solid, you know what to do. Skydio 2-X8BT is mine there. So initially when you first connect, you're gonna need to punch in the password that was on that little sticker on the top, and it's also on the bottom of the Skydio. Here we go, I wanna connect right to the Skydio. And it immediately shows that it's connecting, so we're ready to go. I kind of skipped through that, but you are going to need to register it with your email. You just get a little code, you got to punch in the code, and you're set to go. Begin flight, and it says starting autonomy. And this is how you would obviously fly it with your phone. And you can see immediately what it says is unsafe launch space. I have the camera around it, I have all this stuff kind of encroaching on it. So as long as you have a few feet perimeter, you should be able to launch it, but right now it's just not able to launch. So that's already connected, ready to go. So if you ever wanted to fly with just the cell phone, this is how you do it. We'll go over the interface just super quick here before we start connecting anything else. So you can go into your media. If you do have any pictures or videos, you can go ahead and check those out. If you wanted to, there's no media right now. We'll go into fly. And then up here at the top, you can see that we have a little video camera. We go into the 4K settings of the camera. So we can choose between 4K, we tap on that and it's just HD. If we stay in HD, we're also gonna have the option to switch it between 30, 60, and 120 frames per second. So if you wanted to get that slow-mo 120, you can go in there. You can't do HDR, but you can choose from H.265 and H.264 compression. We can do recording manual or automatic. If it lifts off, it'll just start recording. We can also adjust our white balance in here if we wanted to. I'm gonna leave it at auto. You can adjust your shutter speed and your ISO if you wanted to. I'm gonna leave it at auto, and there's your EV down below. If we do go ahead and just change over here to 4K, obviously the cool thing about this drone is it does 4K 60 frames per second. So you could do the 60 frames per second, 24, 30, or also 48. I'm just going to probably leave it at 30 right now. You can also, in this mode, choose to shoot with HDR or non-HDR. So I'll probably leave it in HDR for my first couple of videos. Take note that you can't shoot HDR in 24 FPS, but you can in 30 and above in 4K mode. That's all the settings I have for video. If I go over here, press on the camera, now I have the option to do burst modes, off 1 second, 5 second, 10 second. I can shoot in JPG or DNG. JPG allows us to do HDR, but DNG does not. So I might leave it in JPG and have HDR photos. If you turn HDR off, you also have all those shutter speed, ISO, white balance, and EV options. If you turn HDR on, all you have is the white balance option. What else can I do? I'm pressing over here on the top on the settings, and you have a couple of settings here. There's a height floor, 8 feet or above. So it'll launch at 8 feet. It won't go lower than that when it's following you. So if you really want it to squeeze into some tight places and stuff, you may want to turn that off. Or if you're like flying in your house and stuff and you have a lower ceiling or flying in buildings, you may want to turn that height floor off, but that is just kind of a safety function there. Controller, that's how you pair the controller. And then these are the controls for the phone. We have default and we have the other type of steering here. It just depends on what the buttons do and how you want it. And you can also have traditional joysticks. If you turn the phone landscape, you'll have dual thumbs. So this is more for one-handed control, these two up here, and this is for if you want both thumbs on your phone. And then of course we're going to want our flight telemetry on there as well. I'll just leave it at default for now, and that's pretty much all I can do. All I can see up here is the connection. It looks good with the drone there, and basically all I can do is fly it now with the phone. So before we fly, let's go ahead and try to connect this little guy here, the beacon, and also the controller. And we're gonna need to bust out, remember, our USB cable for this one. So I'll go ahead and plug it in to the bottom of the machine, and let's turn our beacon on first. So just press and hold the blue button. There we go, 100% charged on the beacon. It's just flashing, and now it's saying connect to vehicle. So very, very simple. I already have this side connected to the vehicle, and I want to take the other side and just connect it into the beacon. So plugging in there, let's see what it says. Looking for it, Skydio, USB in use, launch blocked. So that was it. That was really quick syncing. All I had to do is plug it in. It's updating the beacon, so you might want to wait a sec and let it kind of do this update. I'm still plugged in. Perhaps when it finishes, it might be able to do some wireless syncing, but of course you can't fly if this is always plugged in, right? So we'll just let it do its update. As you can see, there's a little meter there. Okay, rounding out. That only took about 20 seconds or less. Looks like the beacon is restarting. And this is good to know on what to expect, guys, if you do this and you want to know exactly what this is all about and what to expect. So I'm just kind of waiting, letting it reboot, and kind of just waiting again for maybe 30 seconds to a minute, just to make sure it doesn't need to do any more updating. It looks like that should be about it. So I guess what I'll do now is I'll unplug the USB from the bottom. Okay, and it can tell the USB is back there in the Skydio, so I'm going to take that out. Let's see what the screen says right when I take it out. Boom, look at that. So it's a smart device here. It knows when it's plugged in. GPS sync. Speed up with app, interesting. So apparently perhaps you can use the beacon with your app on your phone or separate. Let's see if we do that right now. Launch the Skydio application. Please connect phone to beacon for stronger connection strength. Okay, and now let's see where the beacon is. Beacon right there in my wireless menu, and it's going to need the password. So of course you look on the back here, and that's going to be your password information. So let me punch that in. Okay, that was pretty easy. Got it punched in and connecting. There we go. We're getting some calibrating. The beacon says ready to fly, and the phone also says ready to fly. Of course, it says no internet option. So if you get that error, guys, make sure you check. Don't ask again for this network, and just let it connect with no internet. So just press yes. So there we go. We got the phone connected to the beacon and the beacon connected. So you're going to want to do all this stuff first if you got these two devices, right? I can hold them hand in hand, and so I can see the video on here and fly it with the beacon if I wanted to. Turn off the beacon by just holding in this red button here. Power off, 3, 2, 1. And there we go, the little logo and the power off. Now just to let you know, it said disconnected on the phone, but then it reconnected directly to the Skydio. So you see how that's working? If you have the beacon on and connected, the beacon will be going across to the phone, and the beacon will be connecting directly to the aircraft. If the beacon's off, this switches directly the Wi-Fi connection directly to the Skydio 2. So that's how that connection loop kind of works. We're going to get out our USB cable again. Now we're connecting with the controller. So I'm not sure if we need to open this up or what. I'm just going to plug it in there. It should actually kind of be syncing right now. I'll open this guy up. Went kind of blue to white, and now it's flashing green after I waited about 10 seconds. It's just connected directly from the controller to the Skydio. When the flashing blue light turns solid. Okay, now it's blue and it's solid. So just wait for that solid blue light when you have everything powered up and just the controller attached to the Skydio. Now I should be able to unplug this, guys. So I'm going to unplug the controller and the Skydio. Now's where I'm going to mount the phone up. So get it in that little notch and then just kind of push your phone up. Just be careful of like your power button and stuff. And you may have to kind of fiddle with this, maybe leave your case on, take your case off, see what fits the best. Now it's time to grab that little short jumper cord. Remember, if you have iPhone or Android, just go ahead and grab the one that corresponds to your device. So I'm plugging into the phone and also just to the back of the controller right there, plugging in, and let's just kind of see what happens. Open Skydio 2 handle controller. I'm going to say yes always, okay. All right, cool. So that goes ahead and just will auto open it up now. It's going to auto connect and it's going to do its calibrating. Whatever it's doing, I'm not sure. And there we go. So it is ready to fly. Let's see, begin flight. Starting Skydio. Let's get that a little farther back there. It seems like every time it does this, it kind of does it starts its autonomy engine. So unsafe to fly again. But as you can see, we have a few different options here. Up here we have like a map. We've also got our layers here. So there you go. I just pressed that top little layer icon and that will give us Google Maps, of course. Press again down here. Kind of like what DJI does. They give you the picture-in-picture. And if we just hit home, yeah, so these are all in-flight stuff like return to home and start recording. Motion track, we have our settings here. Left-hand side, it's either camera or video. And those same kind of options, remember? Now we have the controller lit up. So we can adjust, oh, that's cool. We can adjust our gimbal sensitivity. So say if I move this trigger up and down, let's see if that does anything. Nope. I guess we got to be flying for that gimbal to work. But we've got gimbal sensitivity, we've got flight sensitivity. Cool. So you can adjust all of your gains in your controller. And you can also customize it. The default is just locks you out. If you want to custom, you can up those rates. So that's good to know. I didn't know we'd be able to do that. And of course, that's just the phone control back up there, which we're not using. So if you have the controller connected, this will be enabled. I guess maybe the last thing to do is see if we can connect the beacon with the controller here. So let me grab this beacon and turn it on and see what happens when we have the controller already connected. 100% power, ready to launch. Cool. Okay, so what that's telling me is you can fly with the controller and the phone, either or, just the phone connected if you want, and you can always have the beacon connected too. So having the beacon seems like it'd be pretty darn beneficial because it's just a better way to give it GPS coordinates. Of course, you don't have to fly it with it. The main thing about this is to have this on you while it's tracking you, because it gives it another way for it to hone in on you with GPS. Instead of, if it loses that image tracking, it can hone in on the GPS signal. So that's kind of probably the only reason I would use it. I probably wouldn't be using it flying with my controller and the phone connected like this and the beacon. I'm not sure if there's any reason to, unless what we'll try is maybe I'll give this to one of my kids and see if I can follow them, and if they have the beacon on them and I'm in a different area, say I'm at the launch site with the phone and the controller, give this to them and just have it in their pocket and see if it will track them better, like under trees and stuff. That would be pretty valuable if that was the case. Pretty cool. Even the beacon, if you can see it there on the screen, it says waiting to clear launch area because I have the controller too close to the cameras. If I pull everything back, You see that? Now it can sense it's far enough away, even though it's only a few inches, to actually launch. So pretty awesome. Pretty high-tech stuff. Anyway, guys, I hope you learned a lot in that video. That was informative to me as well. I love to just take you along with me while I'm just kind of learning these things and just show you how it really is on a first-hand experience and what to expect in connecting all these things, taking it out of the box, getting a really in-depth look, and also, you know, updating and stuff. So really in-depth experience. If you're just about to take it out of the box, you may want to watch this video and learn how to set everything up. Anyway, lots more to come. This was just the unboxing, inspection, and setup and updating video. We are going to take this thing in the air. We're going to do lots of flights with it and lots of different scenarios. As I was explaining, I'll definitely be flying with just the beacon, with just the phone and the controller, and also giving the beacon to somebody else and trying to track them while I'm at its home launch point with the controller. We're also going to do range testing too. So you want to know how far it'll go with just the phone, with just the beacon, or with the controller and the phone. We're going to do all that as well. And I'll have those videos in the playlist up here. And also don't forget to check the link down in the description down below, because that's where all the links to the stuff I'm reviewing here will be, and also those further videos when I get to those. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one. So I'll just pull this thing out, get a little closer to the candle. Quick little getting starting. So I'm going to go ahead and show. Whoops.